They won't clap for you right now. They won't notice the early mornings, the late nights, the days you show up when the world is asleep and the silence screams louder than applause ever could. But you still show up. Because deep down, you know the truth. The real work, the work that shapes kings and queens, is always invisible at first. You don't build an empire in the spotlight. You build it in the shadows. In the moments when quitting would be easier than continuing. In the hours when no one is watching and the only audience is your doubt and your decision to keep going anyway. That is the sacred power of invisible work. It's the student who studies in silence while their peers party. It's the dreamer who invests in skills while others chase distractions. It's the builder laying bricks in the dark, long before the world ever sees the castle. You don't get recognition at the beginning. You get resistance. You get silence. You get challenge after challenge designed not to stop you, but to refine you. Because life does not hand greatness to the loud. It delivers it to the relentless. And if you look at every icon, every legend, every titan of purpose, you'll find invisible years behind their visible glory. Henry Ford wasn't an overnight success. He was ridiculed, rejected, and dismissed before the world ever called him a genius. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination, long before his name lit up the skyline. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times, each experiment an invisible brick laid in the foundation of light. They didn't beg for recognition. They earned it by embracing what others avoided, the grind no one sees. The early drafts, the broken prototypes, the lonely hours, the work done in silence. And you, yes, you, are being called into that same fire. Not to be seen, but to build. To plant seeds in soil so deep, the world forgets your name. Until the harvest makes it unforgettable. That's the paradox. You have to become obsessed with the process before the results ever show up. You have to love the craft before the crowd knows your name. You have to train like a champion before you wear the belt. Because if you can endure invisibility, if you can thrive in the unseen hours, if you can work not for praise, but for purpose, there will come a day when your silence shakes the world. Not because you screamed the loudest, but because you built the strongest. That's how unshakable confidence is born. Not from being celebrated, but from keeping promises to yourself when no one's looking. You sharpen your character in solitude. You mold your integrity in repetition. You weld your mindset in discomfort, until excellence becomes your default, not your exception. And while others scroll, you study. While others party, you practice. While others wait for motivation, you move with mission. They'll call it talent one day. They'll say you're gifted. They'll act like it was inevitable. But you'll know better. You'll know every ounce of greatness was purchased in full by invisible work. And no one can take that from you. Because when your foundation is built in darkness, no spotlight can shake it. When your belief was born without applause, no critic can kill it. When your identity was forged in action, no failure can break it. You become untouchable, not because life gets easier, but because you got stronger. And strength, true strength, is invisible long before it's admired. The world teaches you to chase visibility, to chase likes, validation, applause. But power doesn't come from being seen. It comes from being certain, in your spirit, in your discipline, in your belief. Invisible work isn't just the action, it's the mindset behind the action. It's believing in the seed before the tree. It's seeing the masterpiece in the marble before the first strike of the chisel. Clarity begins not with knowing what to do, but with knowing who you are. And invisible work, it carves your identity in stone. It says, I am the kind of person who doesn't break. I am the kind of person who follows through, especially when it's not convenient. You can't fake that. That kind of belief is earned in silence, earned in resistance, earned every time you rise before the sun and choose your mission over your mood. Every time you walk away from comfort and into uncertainty, because the dream is more important than the distraction. Belief doesn't start with results. It starts with intention. And most people get this backwards. They wait to feel confident before they act. But confidence is a result, not a prerequisite. Clarity is not gifted, it's forged. And the hammer that shapes it is action without applause. Because when you act before the world agrees with you, when you move before it makes sense, when you bet on yourself before the scoreboard turns in your favor, That is when your power begins to awaken. That is when you stop waiting for permission and start writing your own script. Ask yourself, can you believe in what no one sees? Can you devote your life to something that hasn't bloomed yet? Can you love your future so much that you're willing to suffer for it in the present? Because that's what invisible work demands. It asks for sacrifice without guarantees. It asks for faith with no audience. It asks for devotion without applause. And in return, it offers something priceless. Conviction. Not hype, not noise, but a bone-deep knowing that you are becoming. Even when the mirror doesn't show it yet. Even when the bank account doesn't show it. Even when your results scream, give up. The unshakable mind whispers. Keep going. That whisper? That quiet inner voice that no one hears but you? That's the soul of all greatness. Because long before your dream becomes real, long before your name is known, long before the world believes in you, you must become your own source, your own fuel, your own fire, your own proof. And that only happens in the dark, in the repetition, in the effort nobody claps for, but that everything depends on. Invisible work is where self-respect is born, where discipline becomes identity, where purpose starts to outshine pain. You're not just building results. You're building alignment between your actions and your destiny. And every time you choose the invisible over the immediate, you cast a vote for the future you, the one who stands on stage, the one who signs the deal, the one who becomes undeniable. But none of that happens without this. This phase where it's boring. This phase where no one notices. This phase where the only proof of progress is your faith. Don't resent this chapter. This is the chapter that separates the few from the many. This is where giants are born. And you are walking straight through it. Keep walking. You are not lost. You are being forged. Understand this. The silence you feel is not abandonment. It's preparation. Because purpose doesn't show up with neon signs and confetti. It whispers through repetition. It reveals itself through the 1,000 invisible choices you make when no one's watching. Purpose is not something you find. It's something you uncover by doing the work the world doesn't see. And once you catch even a glimpse of it, a fire is born inside you that cannot be put out. When you move with purpose, every setback becomes fuel. Every delay becomes a sharpening stone. Every failure becomes feedback that forms you, not flaws you run from. This is what separates a man with goals from a man with vision. Goals are what you want. Vision is what you're willing to become to get it. And vision, real vision, is lonely. Because when you see what others can't, you'll do what others won't. You'll walk away from noise. You'll say no to comfort. You'll choose 10,000 hours of invisible effort over 10 seconds of applause. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. If your vision doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. If it doesn't cost you friends, habits, identities, you're still playing small. If it doesn't require you to change who you are, it will never change where you go. Vision demands death. The death of the old version of you. The death of the excuses. The death of small thinking, victim stories, and borrowed beliefs. And in that death, a new identity rises. One who no longer needs validation. One who doesn't wait to be picked. One who knows. I am chosen the moment I choose myself. But hear me, this doesn't happen all at once. Transformation is not a moment. It's a process that happens in obscurity, in repetition, in the daily, gritty decision to keep walking forward when everything in you wants to turn back. That's what invisible work really is. It's becoming the kind of person who is worthy of the life you dream about. You don't just want wealth, do you? You want to become someone who can hold it with integrity. You don't just want success. You want to become someone who earned it with blood, fire, and refusal to quit. Because only that person, only the one who has suffered in silence, only the one who has sweated in stillness, only the one who has been tested without recognition, only they can hold the weight of a big life. And if you're doing invisible work right now, if you're building in silence, sacrificing without applause, showing up without permission, then you are already becoming that person. You are already shifting. The world just doesn't see it yet. But you do. You feel it in how you carry yourself now, in how you speak to yourself now, in how you protect your energy, guard your time, and sharpen your focus. Your life may still look the same on the outside, but inside, you know something has changed. You are no longer building from the outside in. You are building from the inside out. That kind of transformation is irreversible, and the world will catch up to it. Because invisible work is never truly invisible forever. Eventually, what's done in the dark explodes into light. And when it does, the ones who've been watching will say, "You're lucky." Let them. You'll know the truth. You'll know that your breakthrough wasn't built on chance. It was built on choice. It was earned in silence. Brick by brick, hour by hour, day by unglamorous day. You became the storm. Discipline is not punishment. It is freedom in disguise. It is the sacred structure that keeps your destiny safe from your distractions. The bridge between what you want and what you will actually become. Most people confuse motivation with movement. They wait for a feeling before they act. But those who understand invisible work, they don't wait. They build. Because discipline isn't emotional, it's habitual. It's doing what you said you'd do, long after the mood you said it in is gone. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's not glamorous. It's waking up when it's easier to sleep. It's saying no to comfort so you can say yes to calling. It's showing up when no one is watching and giving everything because you are watching. That's where real pride is born. Not from praise, but from alignment. From living in harmony with your higher self, not your lower impulses. Every time you choose structure over chaos. Every time you repeat a habit that feeds your future instead of one that feeds your ego. You are not just surviving. You are becoming sovereign. You are ruling your mind instead of being ruled by it. And the more you commit to discipline, the more adaptable you become. Because true strength is not found in rigidity. It's found in flexibility with focus. In staying loyal to the mission, even when the method must evolve. Adaptability is not weakness. It's the wisdom to say, "I will not be moved from my purpose, but I will shift how I get there." Look at every giant of history. Carnegie, Lincoln, Jobs, Mandela. None of them had a straight road. Every single one had to pivot. Every single one had to remake themselves again and again without losing who they were becoming. Resilience is the echo of invisible work. It's what's left when everything else is stripped away. When the plan breaks, and you keep moving anyway. When the doors close, and you build your own. When the world says no, and your spirit whispers, "I'm not done." Because the goal was never comfort. It was always capacity. You don't pray for easier battles. You train for stronger armor. You don't beg for lighter burdens. You rise with heavier hands. This is the warrior path. Not the path of the loud, but of the loyal. Loyal to the process. Loyal to the vision. Loyal to the person you are becoming. Brick by invisible brick. And yes, it gets lonely. Yes, it gets heavy. Yes, it gets silent. But listen closely in that silence. That's your soul growing louder. That's your future echoing back through time saying, "Keep going. I'm worth it." So when you feel unseen, good. When you feel overlooked, good. When no one claps, when no one cares, when no one validates your effort, excellent. Because that is the moment most people fold. But you were not built to fold. You were built to forge. To use every setback as strategy. Every detour as discipline. Every delay as divine timing. Because if your spirit cannot be shaken in the dark, you will become unstoppable in the light. There comes a moment when the silence breaks, when the invisible becomes undeniable, when the world finally sees what you've always known. They'll call it an overnight success. But you'll know there was no night you didn't bleed for this. No hour you didn't sacrifice. No part of your soul you didn't offer on the altar of your vision. They'll clap for the results. But they'll never see the days you walked alone with blistered feet and unshaken faith. They'll admire the light, but they'll never understand the depth of your darkness. How many times you faced the mirror and chose not to quit? How many times you rose, not because you felt strong, but because you refused to stay small? This is the reward of invisible work. You don't just win. You become the kind of person who never loses again. Not because you always succeed, but because you always stand back up. Success is not the crown. It is the character you forged beneath it. It is the quiet knowing that no matter what happens, you are capable. You are ready. You are aligned with something so much greater than the scoreboard. That is power, not ego, not noise, but stillness that cannot be moved. Invisible work is not a phase. It's not a stepping stone. It is the foundation of everything lasting, everything real, everything eternal. Because anything the world can give you, it can also take away. But what you become in the dark, no one can touch that. The world sees your peak. But the mountain was built in pieces. Invisible, quiet, uncelebrated it. You carved it with your will. You built it with your belief. You bled it into existence when no one clapped and no one called. And now you rise. Not as someone who needs to prove anything, but as someone who already knows their power, knows their path, knows that the work was never wasted. Because every invisible act became a visible result. Every quiet morning became a loud victory. Every unnoticed grind became a destiny that can no longer be denied. And so you don't walk like them anymore. You don't think like them. You don't need what they need. Because you have something they don't. An unshakable core built in silence. A destiny forged in the unseen. A fire that was never meant to be witnessed, only felt. You are the product of 10,000 unseen hours. 10,000 unseen choices. 10,000 moments where you refuse to break. And now, you don't need permission. You've already been initiated. You've already been chosen. By the invisible hand that only touches those bold enough to believe in something greater than comfort, greater than applause, greater than the opinions of the world. So walk forward, not as someone waiting to be seen, but as someone whose very existence is proof that silent work builds loud legacies. You don't chase the spotlight. You become the flame. The power was never in being seen. It was always in being certain. This is the power of invisible work. This is where greatness begins. And this is who you were always becoming, even when no one was watching. Especially when no one was watching. Now go. Make the world feel what only you could build. And never, ever again, forget who you are.